Hi, I am Sophia. Welcome to True Payback, where story hits different. Hit subscribe. Let's dive in.
My brother Marcus was always the golden child. Valedictorian. Full-ride scholarship to Yale. MBA from Wharton. Married to Amanda, whose father owned a regional insurance empire. Their wedding had 300 guests, a live orchestra, and was featured in Connecticut Lifestyle Magazine. I was the family disappointment. I dropped out of college after 2 years. Moved to Seattle with $800 in my bank account and a used laptop. Worked 3 jobs. Barista, dog walker, freelance, coding at night. I lived in a studio apartment with 2 roommates and ate ramen for dinner more nights than I care to remember. Mom would call every Sunday. Marcus just closed another major client. When are you going to get a real job, Lily? Dad was more direct. Your brother is building something. You're wasting your potential playing with computers. Family gatherings were torture. Thanksgiving 2019, Marcus arrived in his new BMW 7 Series. I took the bus and walked the last mile because I couldn't afford the Uber surge pricing. Christmas 2020, Marcus announced he'd been promoted to Senior Vice President of Operations at Amanda's father's company, Henderson Insurance Group. I was still freelancing, still living in that cramped studio. Lily does computer stuff, Mom would explain to relatives, her voice apologetic. Marcus would smirk. She fixes people's Wi-Fi. Very entrepreneurial. I learned to smile and change the subject. What they didn't know, what I deliberately never told them, was that I'd been building something in those quiet Seattle nights. A software platform for healthcare data management. Clean code. Elegant architecture. Something hospitals desperately needed but nobody had solved properly. By 2021, I had 47 hospital clients. By 2022, I had 218. By early 2023, HealthBridge Solutions had a valuation of $95 million and I owned 87% of it. I kept working from my small apartment. Drove my 2012 Honda Civic. Wore jeans and hoodies. The only difference was that I'd stopped taking Mom's Sunday calls quite as often, and I'd started missing family events when work got busy. I wasn't hiding my success to be mysterious. I was protecting it. I'd watched my family operate my entire life. Everything was transactional. Every relationship had an angle. If they knew I had money, they'd find ways to take it. Marcus had already asked me for a $5,000 loan in 2020 that I knew I'd never see again. I'd said I couldn't afford it. I wanted to build something real before they could touch it. Christmas 2023. Mom insisted everyone come to her house in Greenwich, Connecticut. The whole family. Non-negotiable. I almost declined. My chief technology officer was dealing with a major infrastructure upgrade, and I had a board meeting scheduled for December 27th. But Mom's voice had that edge that meant she'd call me 17 times a day until I agreed. I flew in on Christmas Eve. Rented a modest sedan. Wore my usual jeans and a simple sweater. Marcus and Amanda arrived in a new Porsche Cayenne. Metallic silver. Amanda's Christmas outfit probably cost more than my rent. Lily. Mom hugged me then immediately stepped back. You're so thin. Are you eating? And what are you wearing? Clothes, Mom. Marcus bought me this cashmere, she said, stroking her expensive cardigan. He's so thoughtful. Dinner was the usual performance. Marcus talked about Henderson Insurance Group's expansion into 3 new states. Amanda discussed their upcoming vacation to the Maldives. Dad asked Marcus detailed questions about market positioning and competitive advantages. Nobody asked me a single question about my life. After dessert, Marcus stood up. He was holding a glass of wine, and he had that expression I'd learned to recognize over 34 years. The look that meant he was about to make everything about him. I have an announcement, he said. Everyone turned. Mom clasped her hands together like he was about to reveal a grandchild. For the past 6 months, Marcus continued, I've been concerned about Lily. My stomach dropped. She's been telling these stories about her software company and her clients. She posts occasionally on social media about business trips and meetings. But she still drives that ancient Honda. Still lives in Seattle. Never shows us anything concrete. Amanda nodded sympathetically. We've been worried. So I did what any responsible family member would do, Marcus said. I hired a private investigator. A real one. Former FBI. 23 years of experience. I paid $12,000 for a complete background check and financial investigation. Mom gasped. Marcus, that's so expensive. Lily's my sister, Marcus said nobly. If she's in trouble, if she's involved in something illegal or dangerous, we need to know. If she's just lying to make herself feel better, we need to help her face reality. Dad nodded slowly. That's very mature, son. I sat perfectly still. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face neutral. Years of family dinners had taught me how to hide everything. The investigator's name is Robert Chin, no relation, Marcus continued. He'll present his findings on December 27th, right here. Complete report. Financial records, employment verification, residential history, everything. He turned to me. His expression was pure smugness wrapped in fake concern. I know this seems invasive, Lily, but we love you. And it's time everyone saw the truth. Amanda put her hand on his arm. We just want to help. 42 relatives stared at me. Aunts, uncles, cousins. All of them waiting for my reaction. Waiting to see me squirm. I took a sip of water. Set down my glass. Looked directly at Marcus. Good luck with that, I said calmly. You're not upset? Marcus asked, confused. Why would I be upset? You spent $12,000. That's your choice. You're not worried about what he'll find? I smiled slightly. Should I be? Marcus's confidence flickered for just a second. Then he recovered. We'll see on the 27th. I left Christmas dinner early, claiming I was tired from the flight. Back in my hotel room, I made 3 phone calls. First to my attorney, David Park. David had been with me since Healthbridge was just an idea and a prototype. He answered on the second ring. Lily. Merry Christmas. My brother hired a PI to investigate me. Former FBI. The guy's presenting findings in 2 days at a family gathering. Silence. Then David laughed. Oh no. Yeah. Does Marcus know what he's going to find? He thinks he's going to find fraud or lies or poverty. He has no idea. What do you want to do? Nothing, I said. Let the investigator do his job. But I want you there when he presents. Professional capacity. Absolutely. Send me the details. Second call. My CFO, Patricia Wong. Patricia had 20 years of experience at major tech companies before I convinced her to join Healthbridge. She was brilliant, ruthless, and had zero patience for nonsense. Let me get this straight, Patricia said after I explained. Your brother paid $12,000 to have a professional investigator verify that you're exactly who you say you are? That's the plan. And he's going to present this at a family Christmas gathering? December 27th, 2 p.m. Patricia laughed so hard I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Oh, Lily. Can I come? Please. Professional distance, Patricia. Fine. But I want a full report afterward. This is better than any reality show. Third call. My younger cousin Rachel. Rachel was 26, worked as a social media manager in Boston, and was the only family member who'd ever asked me real questions about my work. We'd grown close over the past 2 years. Marcus did what? Rachel practically shouted. Hired a PI. $12,000. Wants to expose me in front of everyone. That's insane. What are you going to do? Show up. Let the investigator present his findings. You're not scared. Of the truth? No. Rachel was quiet for a moment. Lily, how big is your company? You've never really told me specifics. Big enough. You'll see on the 27th. This is going to be incredible. Can I bring popcorn? Rachel. Fine. But I'm sitting next to you. I spent the next 2 days working remotely from Connecticut. December 26th, I had a video call with my leadership team about Q1 projections. We were on track to hit $180 million in revenue. Our hospital client base had grown to 347 institutions across 42 states. We were in preliminary discussions with 2 major health insurance companies about enterprise licensing. My phone buzzed constantly with family text messages. Mom, Marcus is just trying to help, sweetheart. Don't be angry with him. Dad, this investigation might be good for you. Help you face reality. Amanda, we care about you, Lily. Whatever Robert finds will support you getting the help you need. Marcus, see you tomorrow. 2 p.m. sharp. Please be honest with yourself, Lily. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I reviewed Healthbridge's investor documentation. 3 venture capital firms held minority stakes. Our Series B funding round last year had valued the company at $95 million. We'd turned down offers from 2 major tech companies who wanted to acquire us. Forbes had contacted me about their 30 under 40 list, but I'd declined the interview. I wasn't ready for that level of public exposure yet. My personal net worth, on paper, was approximately $82.6 million. My family thought I was broke. December 27th. I arrived at Mom's house at 1:45 p.m. Wore black slacks and a simple white blouse. Professional but understated. David Park arrived at 1:50 p.m. He looked exactly like what he was. A senior partner at a major Seattle law firm. Expensive suit. Leather briefcase. Commanding presence. Mom opened the door, saw David, and her face went confused. "Who are you?" "David Park, ma'am. I'm Miss Chen's attorney. I'm here to observe the proceedings." "Attorney?" Mom's voice went up an octave. "Lily, why do you need an attorney?" "Professional courtesy, Mom. When someone hires a private investigator to examine my life, I bring legal representation." Marcus appeared in the hallway. He saw David and his confident expression cracked slightly. "This isn't a legal proceeding, Lily." "Then my attorney will simply observe," I said calmly. "Is that a problem?" Amanda whispered something to Marcus. He shook his head. "No. Fine. Whatever." The living room was packed. Mom and Dad. Marcus and Amanda. 3 aunts, 2 uncles, 7 cousins. Rachel gave me a small wave from the couch. Everyone else was staring at David like he was a bomb. At exactly 2 p.m. the doorbell rang. Marcus practically ran to answer it. He returned with a man in his 50s, gray hair, weathered face, the bearing of someone who'd spent decades in law enforcement. He carried a leather portfolio and had the quiet confidence of someone who'd seen everything. "Everyone," Marcus announced, "this is Robert Chin. 23 years with the FBI. Now one of the top private investigators on the East Coast. He spent the past 6 weeks conducting a comprehensive investigation into Lily's claims, finances, and activities." Robert Chin nodded politely to the room. His eyes landed on David Park and something flickered in his expression. Professional recognition, maybe. "Mr. Chin," Marcus continued, "please present your findings." Robert set his portfolio on the coffee table. He didn't sit down. Instead, he stood in front of the room like he was delivering a briefing. "Before I begin," Robert said, his voice measured and professional, "I want to be clear about the scope of my investigation. Mr. Marcus Chin hired me to conduct a complete background check and financial investigation of Ms. Lily Chin. He specifically requested verification of her employment claims, residential status, financial status, and whether she was engaged in any fraudulent or illegal activities." Mom clutched her pearls. Dad leaned forward. Amanda had her phone out, probably recording. "I conducted this investigation according to standard protocols," Robert continued. "Public records search. Financial institution verification. Professional reference checks. Corporate registration verification. And because Mr. Marcus Chin specifically requested it, I also conducted a parallel investigation into his own financial records as a comparative baseline." Marcus's head snapped up. "What?" "Standard protocol," Robert said calmly. "When investigating familial relationships and making comparative assessments, we examine all relevant parties. You signed the authorization in the contract, Mr. Chin. Paragraph 7, subsection 3. Marcus's face went pale. "I didn't. I thought that was just..." Robert opened his portfolio. He pulled out 2 folders. One was thin, maybe 30 pages. The other was thick, at least 100 pages with multiple tabs and sections. "Let me start with Ms. Lily Chin," Robert said. He opened the thin folder. Full legal name, Lily Mei-Ling Chin. Date of birth, March 15, 1989. Current primary residence, Seattle, Washington. Employment status, founder and chief executive officer of Healthbridge Solutions, a healthcare software company incorporated in Delaware in 2019. Marcus smirked. "Healthcare software. Lily, you dropped out of college." "I'm not finished," Robert said sharply. His FBI training showed through. He didn't tolerate interruptions. HealthBridge Solutions, as of December 1, 2023, maintains active contracts with 347 hospital systems across 42 states. The company employs 127 full-time staff members. Revenue for fiscal year 2023 is projected at $178.4 million. The company completed Series B funding in March 2023 at a valuation of $95 million. Ms. Chen personally owns 87% of voting shares. The room went silent. Robert continued, his voice completely neutral. Ms. Chen's personal net worth, based on equity holdings and verified assets, is approximately $82.6 million. Her company has been featured in Healthcare Technology Review, Modern Hospital Magazine, and Digital Health Innovations. She was invited to speak at the Healthcare Information and Management Systems Society Conference in 2022 and 2023. She declined both invitations. Mom made a small choking sound. Ms. Chen maintains a modest lifestyle relative to her net worth, Robert continued. She drives a 2012 Honda Civic. Rents a 2-bedroom apartment in Seattle for $2,400 per month, well below market rate for someone of her income level. Her personal expenses are minimal. She has no debt. Her credit score is 847. Dad's face had gone completely white. Employment verification confirmed, Robert said. Financial records verified. Corporate registration verified. Professional references verified. Ms. Chen is exactly who she claims to be. No fraud detected. No illegal activities detected. No misrepresentations detected. He closed the thin folder. Marcus sat frozen. Amanda's phone had stopped recording. Now, Robert said, picking up the thick folder, let's discuss Mr. Marcus Chen. Wait, Marcus said quickly. That's not necessary. You requested a comprehensive investigation, Mr. Chen. I delivered one. Robert opened the thick folder. The first page was covered in highlighted sections and sticky tabs. Marcus Jonathan Chen. Date of birth, July 8, 1986. Current employment, Senior Vice President of Operations, Henderson Insurance Group. Married to Amanda Henderson, daughter of company founder Richard Henderson. Robert flipped to a tab section. During my investigation, I discovered several irregularities in Mr. Chen's financial records. Specifically, expense reports filed with Henderson Insurance Group between January 2021 and November 2023. Amanda stood up. What are you talking about? Mr. Chen submitted 143 expense reports during this period, Robert said. Standard business practice. However, upon verification of receipts and cross-referencing with vendor records, I found significant discrepancies. He pulled out a spreadsheet. Even from across the room I could see columns of numbers highlighted in red. Examples. In March 2022, Mr. Chen submitted an expense report for a business dinner with a potential client. Amount claimed, $847. The restaurant confirms the reservation and the charge. However, the client Mr. Chen claimed to be meeting, a Mr. Thomas Bradford, died in January 2022. I verified with his family. Marcus's face went gray. That was a mistake. A clerical error. In July 2022, Mr. Chen submitted expenses for a business trip to Chicago. Hotel airfare, meals, client entertainment. Total claimed $3,240. However, the client company he claimed to be visiting, Midwest Distribution Solutions, has no record of any meeting. In fact, according to their security logs, no one from Henderson Insurance Group visited their offices that week. Robert flipped pages. More highlighted sections. More red columns. In total, I identified $210,000 in fraudulent or unverifiable expense claims filed by Mr. Marcus Chen over a 33-month period. This includes fake client meetings, inflated meal charges, personal purchases categorized as business expenses, and trips that never occurred. Amanda turned to Marcus. Her face was white. What the fuck, Marcus? These records have been verified, Robert continued. I have copies of all submitted expense reports, verification from vendors, statements from supposed clients, and a complete timeline. This documentation has been prepared according to standards that would be admissible in both civil and criminal proceedings. He pulled out a sealed envelope. As required by my professional standards, when I discover evidence of criminal activity during an investigation, I'm obligated to report it. I've prepared a full report for Henderson Insurance Group's board of directors and their general counsel. I'll be delivering it tomorrow morning. Amanda's phone rang. She looked at the screen and her hands started shaking. It's my father. I called him 1 hour ago, Robert said. Professional courtesy. When an investigation involves an employee of a client company, the company has a right to know immediately. Amanda answered the phone, stepped into the hallway. We could all hear her. Dad, I don't know. He's here. Yes, I'm looking at the report. Marcus stood up. His face was red now, panicked. This is bullshit. You're lying. Lily paid you to make this up. I'm a former FBI agent, Mr. Chin. My reputation is built on factual accuracy. These documents are verified. Your signature is on every expense report. The electronic timestamps are logged. This isn't fabricated. This is evidence. David Park stood up. He'd been quiet this entire time, just taking notes. Now he walked to the center of the room and his presence commanded instant attention. For the record, David said, his voice carrying the weight of 20 years of courtroom experience, I'm David Park, senior partner at Park & Associates in Seattle. I represent Ms. Lily Chin in all business and personal matters. I've been listening to Mr. Robert Chen's presentation. I've reviewed the documentation he's provided. He turned to Marcus. Mr. Marcus Chin, you hired an investigator to expose what you believed were lies and fraud committed by your sister. Instead, the investigation has revealed substantial evidence of fraud committed by you. This evidence includes falsified business expenses, fraudulent claims submitted to your employer, and misrepresentation of business activities. Marcus opened his mouth. Nothing came out. This investigation was initiated by you, David continued. The findings are documented according to professional standards. And those findings are now being reported to your employer's board of directors and general counsel. That's not my client's doing. That's yours. Amanda came back into the room. Her face was streaked with tears. My father wants to see you immediately, Marcus. He's called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. Amanda. He asked me if I knew. If I was involved. Her voice broke. How could you? How could you do this to my family's company? I didn't. It wasn't that much. It was just $210,000. Amanda screamed. You stole $210,000 from my family's company. Mom started crying. Dad sat frozen, staring at nothing. My aunts and uncles looked like they'd been hit with a hammer. Rachel caught my eye. He was trying not to smile. Robert Chin closed his portfolio. My investigation is complete. Documentation will be provided to all relevant parties. Mr. Marcus Chin, I recommend you retain legal counsel immediately. Ms. Lily Chin, your records are clean. Congratulations on your company's success. He nodded to David Park, one professional to another, and walked out. The room exploded. Mom started wailing. Marcus, tell me this isn't true. Tell me you didn't steal. It's not stealing, Marcus shouted. It's just, expense reports get messy. Everyone does it. $210,000, Marcus. Dad's voice was like thunder. You committed fraud. Amanda was on her phone again. He's asking if we used any of the money for personal purchases. Marcus, did we? The Porsche? The Maldives trip? Marcus's face answered the question. Oh my God, Amanda breathed. Oh my God, we're going to lose everything. He turned to me. Her expression was wild, desperate. Lily, you have to help us. You have money. You can fix this. You can pay back the company. No, I said quietly. What? No. I'm not fixing this. Marcus created this situation. Marcus can handle the consequences. But your family. Family, I repeated. Marcus spent $12,000 to hire someone to humiliate me in front of everyone here. He wanted to expose me as a fraud. He wanted everyone to see me fail. I stood up. David stood with me. Instead, he exposed himself. And that's not my responsibility to fix. Mom rushed toward me. Lily, please. He's your brother. He made mistakes, but he's family. When I needed help, when I was struggling, when I was working 3 jobs and eating ramen, where was this family loyalty? Where was this compassion? The room went silent. Marcus called me a Wi-Fi fixer. Dad said I was wasting my potential. Mom apologized to relatives for my existence. Nobody asked me about my work. Nobody believed in me. Nobody cared. I picked up my bag. I built a $95 million company anyway. I did it alone. And I'm not using what I built to bail out someone who spent years dismissing me. Lily, Dad started. The investigator's report is accurate, I said. I own a successful company. I'm worth $82.6 million. And Marcus committed fraud. Those are the facts. You hired someone to find the truth. You found it. Now deal with it. David opened the door. I walked out. Behind me I heard Amanda. My father's lawyer is calling. Marcus, what do we tell them? Rachel followed me outside. Lily, wait. I turned. That was the most badass thing I've ever seen, she said. Despite everything, I smiled. Thanks, Rachel. Are you okay? Yeah. I'm okay. What happens now? I go back to Seattle. I run my company. I live my life. And Marcus? I thought about that. About my brother who'd spent our entire lives being the golden child. Who'd looked down on me, dismissed me, and finally tried to destroy me. Marcus deals with the consequences of his choices. Just like I dealt with mine. 3 months later. Marcus was terminated from Henderson Insurance Group on December 28, 2023. The company filed criminal charges for fraud and embezzlement. The case was settled out of court. Marcus paid full restitution plus penalties. His MBA and his golden reputation couldn't save him. Amanda filed for divorce in February 2024. The divorce was finalized in May. He kept the house. Marcus kept the legal bills. Mom called me in January. Lily, I'm sorry. We didn't know. We should have believed in you. You should have, I agreed. But you didn't. And that tells me everything I need to know. Are you cutting us off? No. But I'm also not pretending the past didn't happen. You wanted the truth. You got it. Dad never called. I wasn't surprised. Rachel moved to Seattle in March 2024. I hired her as HealthBridge's social media director. She's brilliant at it. HealthBridge Solutions hit $210 million in revenue in 2024. We're expanding into international markets. Forbes finally wore me down. I agreed to be profiled for their 2025 30 under 40 list. I still drive my 2012 Honda Civic. Still live modestly. Still work 18-hour days because I love what I built. But now I only spend time with people who believed in me when I had nothing. Who saw my potential when I was serving coffee and walking dogs and coding until 3 a.m. Those people are my family now. Marcus? Last I heard, he was working in middle management at a small insurance company in Hartford. Making $68,000 a year. Driving a used Camry. Living in a one-bedroom apartment. He wanted to expose my lies. Instead he exposed his own. And that investigation cost him everything.